something really serious happened that got everyone talking. Russia just did something that made America very angry. They shot missiles at a factory in Ukraine that belonged to American companies. This wasn't just any factory, it was in a place called Mukachevo, right near the border with Hungary. The factory was worth about $100 million, which is a huge amount of money. Two big missiles called Kalibr missiles hit the Flex factory. This factory made everyday things like coffee machines for big companies like Google and Lenovo. When the missiles hit, a massive fire started with thick black smoke going up into the sky. People could see it from far away and took blurry videos, but they had to be careful about sharing them for safety reasons. About 800 people worked at this factory, and they barely got out in time before the missiles hit. The attack hurt between 15 and 19 people, and much of the factory was completely destroyed. It looked like a pile of broken concrete and twisted metal when it was over. This wasn't an accident. Russia chose to hit this factory on purpose because it belonged to Americans. When President Trump heard about this attack, he got really mad. He wrote something on social media that millions of people saw. Trump said something like, "You can't win a war by only playing defense. You have to hit back at the enemy's land to win." He also wrote, "Interesting times are coming," which made people think he was planning something big. More than 1.2 million people saw Trump's message in just one day. This wasn't just Trump being upset about the factory getting destroyed. It was like he was telling everyone that America might help Ukraine fight back even harder against Russia. For people who watch military stuff closely, this was a big deal because it meant America might change how it helps Ukraine. The factory that got destroyed wasn't just any building. It was making smart home devices for big companies like Dell and HP. It was like a symbol of America helping Ukraine's regular businesses, not just military stuff. The 800 workers who barely escaped watched their workplace turn into flames and smoke. Unlike other times when Russia attacked Ukrainian buildings, this time they specifically chose to hit something owned by Americans. Russia used really advanced missiles for this attack, the kind they usually save for the most important targets. This showed that Russia wanted to make America mad on purpose. Trump's angry response wasn't just random words. It suggested that America might soon let Ukraine use American weapons to attack targets inside Russia itself. This was something America had never let Ukraine do before. For months, America had been trying to help Ukraine, while also trying not to get into a direct fight with Russia. Since 2022, America has given Ukraine about $56 billion in help. But they always told Ukraine, "You can't use our weapons to attack Russia's own land." Trump's message seemed to say that rule might change. By comparing war to a sports game, where you need a fence to win championships, Trump was telling both friends and enemies that America might let Ukraine use long-range weapons to hit Russian bases or supply lines. This could mean attacking things like fuel storage areas or command centers, which would really hurt Russia's ability to fight, but also risk making the war much bigger. The timing of Trump's statement was really important. Right when people were seeing pictures of the destroyed factory on social media, with twisted metal and huge smoke clouds, Americans were getting angry about their country's business being attacked. Polls show that 65% of Americans now want stronger action against Russia compared to only 50% a year ago. Trump's words hit right into this angry mood while also keeping his options open. The phrase "interesting times" was vague enough that if Russia backs down, Trump can say he scared them off. If things get worse, he can say he warned everyone and now has to take stronger action. But this approach is really dangerous. If Ukraine starts attacking deep inside Russia with American weapons, Russia might fight back even harder. They could attack NATO supply lines in countries like Poland or Romania. Military experts think there's a 20% chance this could lead to NATO getting directly involved in the war within 6 months. For Russia, any Ukrainian attack using American weapons looks like America is basically fighting them through Ukraine. This makes the line between helping Ukraine and directly fighting Russia very blurry and dangerous. Meanwhile, something else scary happened. Russia sent a drone deep into Poland, which is a NATO country. The drone crashed and exploded in a village called Osini, making a crater 6 meters wide. Luckily, nobody got killed, but it showed that Russia was willing to test NATO's borders. This wasn't a mistake. The drone flew 100 kilometers into Poland, much farther than usual. Previous Russian aircraft that accidentally entered NATO airspace usually only went about 20 kilometers in. This drone had Chinese-made parts that helped it avoid radar detection, showing how carefully planned this was. Poland complained to Russia's embassy, but NATO didn't do much else. This careful response might encourage Russia to keep testing NATO's limits. It's like when someone keeps poking you to see how much you'll take before you fight back. Ukraine wasn't just sitting around waiting for help. They started fighting back in their own way. Ukrainian drones attacked Russian oil refineries and fuel storage areas in places like Rostov, Voronezh, and Novoshakhtinsk. These attacks caused massive fires that NASA satellites could see from space, the biggest fires in 6 months. The Novoshakhtinsk refinery, which makes diesel and airplane fuel, burned for 3 straight days. Local people took videos showing huge flames and thick black smoke covering the sky. These attacks were really smart because they hit Russia's ability to make fuel for both regular people and their military. Ukraine's drone attacks cut Russia's oil refining ability by about 13.5%. This was really important because Russia's military needs lots of fuel to run their tanks, trucks, and airplanes. Without enough fuel, Russian forces can't move around as easily or fight as effectively. The attacks on Russian oil facilities had a domino effect. Fuel shortages made it harder for Russian military convoys to move. Air operations got more difficult. Regular Russian people started seeing gas station closures and diesel prices went up by 15% in some areas. Farmers couldn't get enough fuel for their equipment, which threatened food supplies. For Russian people living far from the war zone, these burning refineries were impossible to ignore. Unlike battlefield losses that Russian TV could hide or downplay, everyone could see the huge fires and smoke clouds. Social media showed long lines at gas pumps and frustrated people complaining about rising costs. Russia tried to protect their oil facilities better by moving air defense systems there, but it didn't work very well. Their S-400 systems, which are designed to shoot down big aircraft, have trouble hitting small, low-flying drones. This forced Russia to spread their defenses thinner, taking protection away from other important areas. Ukraine's strategy of attacking energy targets was really clever. By using cheap, long-range drones that can fly over 800 kilometers, they could hit valuable targets deep inside Russia without risking Ukrainian soldiers. These drones have advanced navigation systems that help them avoid Russian air defenses. The economic damage to Russia was severe. Russia's energy sector makes up 40% of their economy, so hitting oil refineries really hurts. The loss of refining ability led to fuel shortages that affected everything from military operations to regular people trying to fill up their cars. Ukraine also eloped a new weapon called the Flamingo cruise missile that can fly 3,000 kilometers, and they're making 200 of them every month. This gives Ukraine the ability to hit targets very deep inside Russia, which changes the whole balance of the war. At the same time, India has been helping Russia by buying lots of Russian oil, even though America doesn't want them to. India and Russia increased their trade to $50 billion, which helps Russia get around some of the economic punishment from Western countries. All of these events show that this war is no longer just happening in Ukraine. Russia's attack on the American factory was meant to provoke the United States. Ukraine's response of hitting Russian fuel facilities shows they're shifting to economic warfare. The drone crash in Poland shows Russia is testing NATO, and India's help to Russia shows that not all countries are willing to isolate Russia completely. Looking at what might happen next, things could get more dangerous in the short term. Russia, hurt by fuel shortages and higher prices, might attack Ukraine's power grid again like they did in 2024, when they cut electricity to millions of people. But Russia's weakened ability to make fuel limits how long they can keep up big military operations. Ukraine, encouraged by American support and armed with new long-range missiles, might launch even deeper attacks on Russian military bases. This could force Russia back to peace talks if Trump puts on tougher sanctions like he hinted he might do. In the long run, if no one can make a peace deal, this war might continue into 2026. There's a 20% chance that NATO might get directly involved if Russian drones keep crashing in Poland or other NATO countries. The choices being made in Washington, Moscow, Kiev, and New Delhi will decide whether this conflict gets much worse or if some kind of balance can be found. Right now, it's like a dangerous chess game where missiles, drones, and oil deals matter as much as what happens on the battlefield. This whole situation shows how a conflict that started in one country can quickly involve the whole world, with economic warfare, cyber attacks, and diplomatic pressure all playing important roles alongside traditional military fighting.